And we have a request this time from one of our studio insiders. You know, you can become a studio insider by hitting that join button below this video, and that gives you some perks that you'll be really happy about. But let's get into the quick tip. This person says, I've been to Quick Tips 522 and 523 many times. They seem endless in information. Information I am able to process little by myself. However, I do have a question. All right, the question is, when you say that Viridian is a miracle worker, what do you mean? And this person goes ahead and says, I get really greedy. I want to know everything about those miracles. All right, you might be surprised by this one. Well, it's not just Viridian, it's Rembrandt Viridian. Not that I'm plugging Rembrandt, but this is the miracle worker. Most Viridians have little flaws I don't like. One, some Viridians are just in a middle value. That is to give you a lot of latitude when you're mixing. And others just don't have the transparency, but this has the transparency. Let me show you. The hue of this Viridian, first of all, falls in the blue-green range. That means it's a tertiary hue. And then that also gives us lots of latitude. But this is my Viridian right here. I'll just pull it right down into the palette so I can work it. Now, I don't like the hue by itself. It's not my favorite color, you see? But you see how transparent it is as I'm pulling it on out here. You see how transparent it is? You see how dark it is, how dark it will go? It means we have a wide range of value. All right, but what I'm so happy about with this color and why I say it's a miracle worker is it does really wonderful things with other colors that you can't always do with some of the tube colors. So first of all, I'm going to rinse this brush out. I'm just going to show you some things here that you may be surprised about. First of all, Viridian, as I said before, is a blue-green. But being a blue-green, I'm going to bring it right here on the palette. Being a blue-green and being transparent means that when I mix a yellow into it, it will become a, oh, by the way, this tinting strength of Viridian is just right. It's a little bit weak, but the actual hue of Viridian, of this Viridian, is very saturated. Now, a lot of people won't give a dark color as it comes out of the tube the saturation, that level that they deserve, but when you thin that out, you can see that is a pretty high saturation, and that enables us to do things that gives us more latitude with mixing that color. All right, so we can mix yellow into it and we can get a very high saturated yellow green. You see right here. Now, you see what happens, and this is the way I like for people to think about color, because if you think about color this way, you can mix any color you want just by thinking through what color does to color. All right, look at the color wheel. Blue-green, yellow-green's right here. Yellow's right here. Yellow-green is between yellow and blue-green. What this means is, when we add the yellow to it, it mixes with the blue and makes green. And when we add, depending on the amount of yellow, we keep adding the yellow into it and we're going to get blue-green. And we can get all ranges of blue-green, of yellow-green, with just mixing yellow into it. And see, that is really a high saturation yellow-green. So that's one thing. Now I'm going to go through my colors, not all of them, but just enough to show you the miracle quality of this color. Because I don't really have any of the dark transparent color on my palette that will give me the variety, I should say, of kinds of mixtures as this particular Viridian will give me. So then if I add to that a yellow orange, now we'll go back to the color wheel. I'm adding yellow orange. Look what's happening here. I'm adding a little bit of red to it. Red is the complement of green. And so we can expect to get a yellow green that's very slightly desaturated. Now watch this. And if you needed that in your painting, you need, now we get another, because yellow green is also a tertiary color, we can get a wide variety of yellow greens. But you see how it's desaturating? See the difference between adding just the yellow orange to it and adding the yellow to it, and we get this yellow green. Now this is the desaturated yellow green, and you can see we get this. Now, that leans a little bit toward, but you may say that's an ugly color. It might not be ugly color if you see it in nature and it's mixed with other colors. Of course, then, if you add more of the yellow or more of the yellow green into it, you begin to lean it a little bit higher in saturation, like this. You see that? So you can play with that range just by adding the yellow and the yellow orange, and you can get a broad range of greens. So a lot of people resist, well, used to, I don't know if it's true anymore, especially among the watercolor people, they used to pride themselves in not having green on the palette. I always thought that was rather silly. Why not have something on the palette if it's going to do work for you and do lots of work for you? I want to throw in right here, the hue of yellow green is very, very similar, very close to the hue of phthalo green. But phthalo green is high in tinting strength, and it just takes over. It will do some of the same things in terms of mixing, but it just doesn't have, you don't have that flexibility because of its tinting strength. So there's that. Now, this might be a surprise for you. This color sap green. Now, I'll show you sap green first of all. It's a yellow green as well. It's a dark yellow green. And the sap green I always preferred for years and years is the Daniel Smith sap green. They quit making it. I'm just going to put it right here so that you can get this comparison. Now, there it is in its darkest form. And here we'll see there, you see that color. Very desaturated yellow green, but a very useful color. Now, I think Rembrandt makes one now that is less saturated than that. That might do the same thing, but let me show you something else. You can actually make that if you have transparent oxide red. So here we go. Once again to the palette, pulling some pure Rembrandt Viridian on the palette. Now, it's because I've got the Rembrandt transparent oxide red right here. The hue of transparent oxide red is red orange. It's very similar in hue to the burnt siennas that we've known for years and years and years. The thing that transparent oxide red has that burnt sienna does not have is that it is transparent, and burnt sienna is opaque to slightly opaque depending upon the brand. All right, so because this has a high tinting strength, the amount of this to the Viridian, the proportion has to be less, because if they had equal tinting strength, about an equal amount would do this. But because they don't, that's about the amount. Now, let's just sort of pull the transparent oxide red into this, and I want to show you what it will do. Depending on the amount of the transparent oxide red, or red orange, in this case, that goes into the Viridian, which is blue-green, you would get various saturations, desaturations. The red into the green, of course, is going to desaturate it. But look at this. Let's just put this right beside this Rembrandt. You see, okay, I don't have it quite as desaturated as that, so we'll go up in here and get it a little bit more desaturated. Get this whole range. Get it right in here. We get just a little bit more of that, a little bit more of the transparent oxide red. It's still, there it's beginning to turn now. Pull just a little bit. I went a little shy on that because I didn't want to go too heavy too soon. So when you're mixing, remember, it's not just one color into another, but it's by proportion. How much of one color needs to go into another in order to create the color that you want. Okay, let's put that down. And I'm going to wipe this brush off now. Let's go into this. That looks like it might just be right on the nose of what I'm looking for. Right in here. Do you see that? See how similar? It's very, very close now. See how similar that is to this. So if you don't have a sap green, but you would like a sap green, you can mix this up on another place on your palette. Or I have an alternate palette where I do, when I want to mix a color, that's going to be one of the colors I'll work with throughout. So see, you have that potential. Now, there's another thing that you can do that Rembrandt Viridian can do, which is really, really fun. I have here, now you see I'm sort of skipping over some colors because this would be so long if I go through all my colors. Just want to give you a little idea here of how to go about finding out what one color will do to another. It doesn't hurt if you get a new tube color to go through your colors and see what that tube color will do to them. All right, so I'm skipping alizarin, and I'm going right straight to my red violet, which is quinacridone violet. I'm going to bring it, let's just bring it right here, doesn't matter so much. That too is a very high tinting strength. Now look what happens though. Red violet, blue green. Look what happens if I put Rembrandt Viridian into this red violet. Now I'm going to show you the range here of what happens. It's just absolutely miraculous. And this is special. By the way, I'm not sure what is available in acrylics, if anybody painting in acrylics, and if you have an equivalent to the Rembrandt Viridian in your acrylics, if you drop it in the comments, that'd be great. At least folks who are watching this video would have that available to them. Okay, so we can begin here, right in here, with what these two colors do to each other. And we'll just, can you see? See there? I'm putting it on thin so that you can see it. Because of the red that's in the red violet and the green is in the blue green, those two neutralize each other. But then there's enough blue in both of those to lean it towards blue. So that you see what happens there. Red violet has red and blue, blue green, and see they're both on this side or this close to blue. So red violet has blue, blue green has blue. So it just makes sense then, does it? That the red's going to neutralize the green and the two blues are going to combine, and we're going to get this wonderful, because of the neutralization happens between the red and the green, we're going to get this wonderful desaturated blue. Now we can lean that more towards blue green if we want to. Let's see if I can get that. I'm scrubbing this in. There we go. There we go. I'm scrubbing this in so that you can see the actual color. Of course, you would be maybe mixing white with that to get those ranges. And let's put more of the red in there now. Let's lean it towards the red side and show this wonderful red violet that you can get. See there? That could be very, very useful. Let's put just a little bit more of the, where am I? Right here. I skipped over just a little bit. Let's go right up back in here. Here we go. That's what I want you to see right there. Right there. I skipped up in this there. I have to watch myself. I get busy talking and I forget where I am. There we go. See that wonderful desaturated red violet there? People would call that wine. Wine is a generic name. It doesn't describe a hue. You see already the variety I've been able to get just with my Viridian. And I'm showing you these in the dark mixtures. You've got all that value range. Of course, with this one, because we added the yellow into it, that we get that more value range in the light values. But we can get a very broad value range of these particular colors that I'm mixing here. Now, another fun thing is that a lot of people will, when they are doing sky colors, a lot of people will just go for cerulean because I think the sky is cerulean. If you look at skies vary in color. If it's clear sky, depending on what part of the country or the world you're in, that sky, those blues could be varying degrees of blues. And there's some skies where you see blues that are leaning more towards blue violet, and other skies that are leaning more towards blue green. And so you can really get that variety if you look at the sky, the actual hue in the sky, and then choose colors that give you that hue. And you might choose several colors as you're working a sky out. Or I say that because the other thing that a lot of people will do is that they will just use ultramarine blue and white. Now, I don't have cerulean on my palette. I don't need it. I find it completely useless for my purposes because I can get it by simply mixing blue, green, and blue, which I'm going to show you in just a moment. But I'm also going to bring white down now and going to get that into the mixture. So we bring white down here. And I'm thinking in terms now of variations. Now, first of all, I'll just show you what white and ultramarine do together. And I'll just put that at about a middle value. Now, I have seen people just paint their entire sky ultramarine blue and think that's sufficient. And now, a lot of times I notice, I don't know what our cameras are going to do here. Cameras have trouble registering the quality of ultramarine blue and cobalt blue. They will often lean those colors more towards blue-green. The camera itself will. So your monitor might not show that. But what I'm going to do now, I'm going to tell you this, and you can try these mixtures for yourself. I mean, these quick tips are no good if you don't just practice what I'm trying to show you. So I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this just to show you what I know. I would like for you to experience it because it's really, really fun. All right, so I'm going to take just a tiny bit now of Viridian, Rembrandt Viridian, and mix it into this ultramarine blue. I'm going to put it right here, and I hope you can see the difference. Can you see how that gradually begins to lean a little bit more towards that blue-green? Now I'm going to vary now. I'm going to begin to get a little bit more of the Viridian, Rembrandt Viridian, into this particular value of ultramarine blue, and there you go. See that? You can see now the difference between what we have here and what we have here. And then when you get the varying values, let's get the ultramarine, get this mixture a little bit darker here, and then pull just a little bit of Viridian into it right here. And both of those, Viridian and ultramarine blue is simply blue on the color wheel. It does have a tendency to lean a little bit more towards blue violet than cobalt blue. Cobalt blue, though, is has the opaque or semi-opaque. Ultramarine blue is transparent, and that's why I prefer it. I always prefer my darks to be transparent, or at least as transparent as is available. Okay, where am I now? All right, so here is the darker mixture, and you see that we can continue to add the Viridian to it, and see it begins to look more like some of the skies that we might see, or even sometimes even the water as well, sky and water. But you may see in some areas where the water itself, if it's the ocean water, it might lean in that direction. Remember, we have all those value possibilities. Okay, one more thing here, now that we're talking about the skies. Remember what these two do together. I'll put a little bit more of this. What the Viridian, Rembrandt Viridian, or the blue-green, and the red-violet, remember what they do together. Okay, if we take that advantage, we can take that advantage right here. We'll show you what a beautiful, beautiful mixture of a slightly desaturated blue we can get. And so now we're at the point in the exploration of Viridian. You see I've moved pretty much around my palette, skipping some of the colors. But that we come to our exploration where we can begin to start exploring what these mixtures we'll do with these mixtures and that sort of thing. So, but if you continue, like, we can just go forever. And when I'm working with color, I get so excited working with color. When I'm working with color, I tend to want to go forever. But that's not a good idea, because you'll probably tune me out. You'll get bored now. Say, oh, you're just doing everything. You're just doing the same thing over and over again. But I'm just want to show you, just as I'm moving into the red violet now. Just want to show you something of this desaturated range of that wonderful desaturated. People call that gray. How that can, as you're adding more and more at that same level of this combination, we have the blue and the blue-green and the red violet. And if you look on the wheel, you can see what's happening. What's happening here, red violet and the blue-green and the blue. These are the colors, the hues that we're working with. And we're working around and back and forth among these right here. This, and this. We're working now by adding a little bit more of this, a little bit more of that. So if you will allow the color wheel to guide you, you can identify every single hue that's in your tubes of color. And if you can do that, you can come up with all kinds of possibilities for color mixing that you probably never dreamed of. Be sure to view all of our quick tips. And while you're doing so, subscribe to the channel, click on the bell, so you'll always get a notice when we produce a new quick tip, which is every week. And if you have a question, leave it in the comments section and we'll make a quick tip for you. Also, take a trip over to DianneMize.com, where I have full-length lessons, downloads, DVDs, lots of other stuff there, some free stuff for you. And while you're there, you can subscribe to the newsletter, and that way you'll always be informed every time we do something new.